What's going on? It's your boy Brett Haas Carnwright with Boat Flipping Productions. I'm out here in the yard. I'm just packing up for the 2023 Bassmaster Open on the St. Lawrence River. It's currently July 12th, 2023, and I'm leaving tomorrow to go to Lake Ontario. So I've been out here packing up the boat, getting everything ready, packing up my truck, and I figured it would be a good time to do some sort of a walkthrough video of this rig. I've got a 2021 Phoenix 721 here. I've been running this boat for just over 2 years now, and I've got it pretty much rigged out exactly how I want. I've tested everything for the last 2 years. I've broke some stuff, fixed it, figured out a better way to have it rigged, and it's been pretty much flawless this entire season. And I think it's ready to be finally sent out to the world so that anybody can look at this, see the options I have, see how I've rigged it, and see what they want to do with their rig. So once again, 2021 Phoenix 721 Pro XP. This is my second Phoenix and my second 721. My first one was a 2016 with the old two-stroke Mercury. Picked this rig up from Weeda's Marine in July of 2021. And it's one of my favorite boats out of the whole lineup. I've been able to run quite a few of the rigs, just my buddies having them. And from the 21 PHX, a 20 PHX, a 921 Elite, a 919. I've been in the 618, and this 721 rides just as good, if not better, than most of them. It's at a good price point, and it barely fits in my garage, so that's another reason why I like to go with it. To start off with the colors, this color here, this is called Carbon. It's a flat gel. I was looking to go with like a dark gray boat. I didn't want it to be jet black, but I wanted it to be still dark, so tried to pick out some color schemes that were in that gray color realm. Let me go to the other side as well. So once again, Carbon. This is a dark charcoal here and steel pins. You come down the hull, Carbon, dark charcoal, steel pin. This is a dark gray gel here. And then on the top cap, I went with a white gel there and a white gel in my stripe here, just because it matches my white power poles good. Bow wings, I went with steel on this boat, mainly because it's kind of hard to get under here and constantly clean the scum line off. And on my old boat, I had white bow wings. It looked good, but it was hard to keep it clean, and it's just kind of a pain to get up under there all the time. So I went with steel on this one. It looks good. Starting off, we'll talk about probably the most important thing is your trailer. If the trailer is not running good, you can't even get to the lake. So this trailer, I opted to go with the bigger wheel package, the Rampages. I really like them. They look good, but I'll tell you what, you can trash the rims real quick, as you can see here, just hitting curbs and stuff, just driving around it. Over time, you might tear your rims up. This one here is pretty clean still. I haven't hit anything with this one, but anyway, the trailer tows like a dream. I've got a standard C channel on this trailer. Phoenix switched over in like 2021 to a standard C channel. I've just got the stock jack on it. I do have the nicer Fulton, but I just haven't put it on. I did upgrade my winch. I've got the 2-stage one. It's the biggest Fulton they make, and it's pretty legit. I put that on after I got the boat. And what else did we do for upgrades? I did get shocks on the trailer. I'll tell you, my old boat, I had the smaller wheels. and I didn't have shocks. And as soon as I got this boat, towing it home, I immediately could tell the difference. It tows way better. I've got gator backs on my bunks. So I removed the carpet almost right when I got the boat. And just because I noticed on my old boat, the carpet was really holding a lot of dirt, and you would get a lot of wear on your hull right here. With the gator backs, you can see that I barely have any wear on the hull. My old boat was not in good shape by this point. After 2 years of power loading with it, and I'm launching the boat, you know, at least 100 times a year. So over time it really wears. The gator backs have been great. I don't want to have the hull blisters either, and I think that those gator backs will help with it. It was probably like a 6-hour job. I did not replace the bunks. I actually used the same wood. I just peeled the carpet off, took all the staples out, and put the new bunks, or the new gator backs on. And I mean, I think it was like a $200 upgrade, but well worth it. Just took a little bit of elbow grease. So I think that's about it with the trailer. Overall, really good. I think I've estimated at least 20,000 miles on this trailer. I've towed it on a 4,000 mile trip and a 3,000 mile trip since I've got it, and many couple 100-mile trips. Also, I forgot about this. I just put these on this year. So these are Bluetooth pressure sensors. So I've actually got in my truck here, let me drive over here, walk over here. So in my truck, I've got this device. I got it off Amazon. Okay, it was like 60 bucks. Let's see, I'll power it on. And it Bluetooths into each tire and tells me my tire pressure. It's pretty neat. It's got a solar charger on top. I've got it plugged into the cigarette lighter. And anyway, it just gives me peace of mind on the road. Especially, like, I just towed all the way to Louisiana earlier this year, and a lot of it was at night, and it's just pretty hectic driving, you know, that far and not having a way of knowing what you've got for, you know, if your tire's flat or not. So those are pretty legit. It tells you exactly what's going on with them. It updates pretty much every minute once the tire is moving, and I've been really happy with that. Wheel chocks, I just got some Walmart wheel chocks here. Those things work great, like 10 bucks. So in the back here, I'll start with my engine. This is a 2021 Mercury Pro XS 4-stroke, pretty much the baddest motor on the planet. For a prop, I'm running a stock 24 Fury. I also run a stock 25 Fury at other times, but right now in tournament season, in the middle of summer, the 24 seems to be better. It's running close to 74, 75 miles an hour, just me with a light load. And tournament loaded, I'm running about 71, 2 people, full of gas. I carry 70 pounds of ice with me and just everything else. We'll check how many hours I've got on it. So I've got 775 hours on this in 2 seasons. I think probably at least 500 are at idle, and it's been a really awesome engine. It's way more powerful than the 2-stroke was. The whole shot, the top end's maybe a little less, maybe a mile an hour less, but overall the performance on this thing is top notch. I've got just TH Marine standard that comes with the boat pretty much. These steering stops, those are really good ones. I haven't felt like I needed to upgrade those. And then I've got a DD26 motor toter down here. That thing's legit. I've got a 12-inch Bob's jack plate. Okay, and on this, between this jack plate and the motor, you can see here I've got wedges. So I have 5-degree wedges that were put on at the dealership. It gives me a little bit extra positive trim, because I noticed on my old 721 that as I added, you know, 3 graphs on the bow and lithium batteries, that I lost bow lift. And I had heard that wedges will give you some bow lift back and give you more trim. So I elected to put those on right when I bought the boat. I never ran the boat without the wedges. And the whole shot doesn't get really affected at all because it's so light in the back that the boat doesn't need to be trimmed all the way down to get on plane quick. I've got two 10-foot blades here in the color white. I just really like them. It's just my style. I've ran white blades since 2016 when I first got a boat. It's just kind of my deal. I stick out like a sore thumb, but it's all right. We've got, I've run two transducers on the back. You can see here. So I've got a Lowrance Structure Scan 3D, and then I feel like that's the best transducer Lowrance makes. And then I've also got on the other side a Humminbird Mega SI. So I run both brands. Both have their advantages. I've got this nice little pad here. I just got this a couple months ago from Hennessy Outdoors, just to protect the gel coat here from the hose rubbing. It's pretty nice. So we'll hop up here into the boat. I'll show you my battery compartment. Okay, so I run lithium batteries. These two batteries right here are my cranking batteries. So I'm running a Relion 100 HP and an Ionic 125. I've been running Relion since 2019, and I switched out two of the Relions for Ionics just because they had the app and I really wanted to know what my battery percentages were at. So I purchased two Ionics, one cranking and one trolling, and it kind of lets me monitor what's going on. On the other side here, these three are my trolling batteries. So I've got two 100 HP Relions, and then I've got one Ionic 100 amp hour. So I've got 36 volts here, 100 amp hours of power. If any of these were to fail, I can jump my engine off one of these because it is an HP battery. I do run a power pole charge as well, and I've also got some external chargers here I'll talk about in a second. But I've got this. These are my spare trolling motor props, so I can put 3 props in this tray. I never really used these trays. I never had really use for them, and then I decided one day that maybe I could do. So what you take is like a 60mm long bolt, and it fits the prop perfectly, and just bolt it in there, and then you've got a place for your spare props. I've got my power pole pumps here, and then I do have the upgraded wire harness or wiring from Phoenix. It's not standard, but it gives you all your pumps are right here where you can see them in the back, and then it upgrades your wiring, your circuit over here that, you know, runs better power up to the bow of the boat and into the console, and just makes everything a lot nicer. I realized that with my old 721 that I didn't have that, and I had wire corroding issues, and it just wasn't ideal. So on this boat I opted to go with that. I do have a dedicated sonar harness courtesy of Weedas Marine that was put in there. You can see it also right here. So I've got a breaker right there with probably, I don't know, a 6-gauge wire that comes off it, and I've got 8 runs of 10 gauge to the front of the boat. So I have 3 runs to the console for 3 different graphs, and then I have 5 runs to the bow, which are for 3 graphs, live scope, and my Humminbird 360. So everything has its own dedicated power. So far it's worked out flawless. Along with the lithiums, it's been I don't have any voltage issues ever, which is what you want. So let's talk about my charging system. So I live up in the north, and what happens a lot of times is you get off the lake at 10 o'clock at night, you know, because it gets dark so late here. A lot of nights you can get off legitimately at 10 o'clock and it's still a little light. So when you have a tournament the next morning and you got to be up at say 4 o'clock in the morning and your batteries are about dead, I've realized that the power pole charge cannot put enough juice back in my batteries to have it fully charged by the next day. So with the Ionics, I can pull the app up on the phone. Okay, here's my app. We'll let it load up. So it'll start looking. I only monitor 2 of my 5 batteries and I just hope that the others are close. And what I do, this is a 3-bank dual pro and this one's a 2-bank dual pro. Typically I'll put this 2-bank on the cranking side and I'll hook the 3-bank to the trolling side if I have to. You can see here my status, what I've got for power left. So I'll look at this. If I'm down to 30% on all my batteries, I know that I'm not going to recharge in the next, 6 to 7 hours fully. So what I do is I just stack my chargers. I'll clip these leads onto each battery and it will make my batteries recharge in pretty much like 3 hours. So that ensures that I'm going to go into the next morning and I'm not going to have to worry about my batteries being fully charged or not. Let me slide these over here. So the back compartment's on a Phoenix, real big. Right here I've just got a bunch of tackle stacked back here, but I typically clean this out for a tournament and this is full of ice. So I buy usually 8 bags, 8 7-pound bags I can fit back here, 50 to 60 pounds worth of ice. I'll put it in this back compartment and that's what I use during tournaments to keep my fish alive. Ice is super important around here and people don't buy enough ice. So I always have plenty for at least me and my co-angler to make sure that my fish are not going to die because ounces are critical here. In this side I've got my cull tags. I got this really neat deal here. I can't remember where I bought it from, but this holds the cull tags here. I like these TH Marine ones. Never really have a problem with them. All my fish are always great. I've got a spare weigh-in bag here. I got a balance beam. I got a couple dock lines. And then I've actually got a spare prop down here. So what I did was I took a spare prop holder from Steve Estes because I don't have enough room in the back of my boat. So Bass Fish Electronics, he builds a spare prop holder. And I measured out my compartment and used a piece of like 1/2-inch starboard, and it's actually loose in here. So it kind of slides around, but it's pretty good. It's worked out well. I did this last year and it's held up great because it just, in rough water and stuff, a spare prop is just all over the place. And you can actually see before I did this, I have just scratches everywhere in the compartment before I mounted this legitimate deal here. So that kind of just sits in there, and then my co-angler can put some of his tackle in there, or what have you. So the live wells, I run VT2 vents. I don't know if they help or not, but I think, they're better than nothing. I do notice that since I started running these, years ago, that I don't get as much foaming in the live well, and my live well lids, like when I open other people's lids, I feel the heat rise out, which is going to make your water warmer. So with these, I actually noticed that, that heat escapes, and it's probably keeping my water a little bit cooler and helps with the ice. So I do run pool noodles, one of the most beneficial things you can run. What I do is I just measured out the compartment here. Whatever it was, say it's 27 inches, I cut the pool noodle to 27 inches and it fits about perfect. They float up to the surface like this. You can slide your smallmouth down in there, protects them in rough water. I can run all the way, 30-40 miles back to weigh in and put live well plugs in up at the top. You can see I've got a plug in here, and these are just the plugs I run. I don't have to stop and fill my boat or fill my live wells up with water. I can typically run all the way back. to weigh in any type of water, and my fish are in great shape. I used to not run the pool noodles, and you'd scale them real bad. You could kill fish doing that. And since I started running the pool noodles, it's almost like you weren't even running in rough water at all. It's pretty amazing how much they help, and I run them on both sides. So I think these live wells are 22 gallons a piece. Huge live wells, probably like some of the biggest live wells in the industry for a boat. We'll slide down here to the console. I've run a hot foot on a slider. It's standard with Phoenix. We got the net storage, one of the greatest features ever with one of these boats. Right, my net's always hiding. I only use a net in a tournament, so it's nice that it's out of the way. The center tackle, or the center storage box here, pretty legit. It's pretty watertight, not exactly. I'd be lying if I told you it was completely waterproof, but as long as you're kind of on a hill downward, you'll be good. I run 3 scales all the time in case I break them. You know, I got some microfibers. These are some new cell phone chargers because I'm getting ready to leave and I want to make sure I've got enough chargers. Screen cleaner. These are wave away bottles, but I use, I've been using the screen juice, I think it's called, from thebasstank.com. I just fill up these bottles with them, and that stuff works pretty good. I got some sunscreen up in here. So what do we got? My GPS chips and stuff. I've got fizzing needles. I've got some of these style needles, and then what else we got? This is the one I normally use, is this kind. This is just a brand new one. I've got a multimeter in here in case I've got anything with any sort of voltage problem. If I run into that, I always have a meter with me. It's super important. I can tell if I've got a bad battery or something. But yeah, your typical catch-all. In here, I do have the slam latch. On this, I keep a screwdriver handy all the time. You never know when you're gonna need one real quick. Rejuvenate, I got a bottle of that over here. I'm in tournament season now, so I've got one ready. I've got a ton of pliers and scissors in the boat, so I never want to be looking for a pair. So you can see I've got, I don't know, maybe 10 pairs of scissors and 3 or 4 pairs of pliers in the boat all the time. I do have heated seats. I can't remember the colors I did here. And this one might be storm, and then white, maybe charcoal. That could be it for my seats. Heated seats are a must where I'm at. It's even when it's like 60 degrees out, they're nice to have. Here's the deal right here for them. You just switch this on when the key's on, so when the motor's running, that's when they actually turn on, but they get pretty warm. It's quite impressive. I love this system that Phoenix has here. You can see some of the lights are out. That's not a big deal to me. Simple. They never fail, these switches, and I don't need anything fancy here. So I love that Phoenix still has this rotary switch deal, and hopefully they don't change anytime. My steering wheel, not heated, but they make a heated steering wheel now, Phoenix does. I put these DD26 levers, one for the jack plate, one for the trim. Those plastic ones that come standard, they kind of flex a little bit, and you always lose the caps on them. I saw these, I thought those were pretty nice, so I put them on a couple of years, probably a year and a half ago now, and legit. The only problem is when it's really cold out there, since they're metal, they kind of, I'm just being kind of a pansy about that, but they're nice. My hydraulic jack plate gauge here for the bobs. I'll turn my key on and you can see where I'm at with that red dot. I'm at 2 inches right now. I've run the little standard, I don't know what Merc monitor level this is, just the whatever the cheaper option that they have. Basically just lets me know how much gas I use. I like to monitor temperature, of course. I never run my engine if it's not over 130 degrees. On plane, you got to have it hot, and then you know, it just lets you know how many hours you got. and whatnot, your battery voltage, all important, RPM. So right here is a skosh mount for my phone. So where did I put my phone? Oh, it's here. So I've got a little magnet on the back of my phone, and it just sticks right on here like this. It's pretty nice. It actually stays here pretty much all the time unless I'm running in super rough water. It will fall off, but it's pretty neat to have that nice and handy there. It's not clipped in or anything. So electronics, I've got a dual dash shroud from Phoenix, and I've got a 16-inch Lowrance HDS Live here. This is my primary unit. Over here I've got a 16-inch carbon unit. It's on a balls out. This is a really solid mount. I've been running one for a few years now on the side of my console here. And what I like about it is I can switch graphs out. So you probably saw throughout the video, I've got other brands of graphs here. So I have a Garmin that I'm getting ready to put on for the St. Lawrence River. And then I run also, this is a Solix 15 humminbird unit. So I swap out the graphs depending on what I'm doing for the day. So I've been running the Lowrance one here, and then all it takes is for me to untwist this knob, and in a couple seconds I can slide this Garmin on. And then I've run spare power cables back here, so they're all running out of the console, and I've got my transducer for humminbird. Of course, all my Lowrance ones are hooked up, and then I've got just a Garmin power cable there. So that's pretty handy to be able to swap out units on the fly, depending. And I'm pretty lucky to be able to run that many units, to be honest. I've just accumulated them kind of over the years, and I actually do plan on getting a couple 16 Pros from Bass Fishing Electronics. Steve Estes there in New Hampshire. I'm going to be getting the new 16 Pro, and then hopefully I'll be able to wire in that new active imaging HD transducer and see how it compares to Structure Scan 3D. Let's see here, sliding over, we'll go to the this co-angler rod locker. So open this sucker up. Oh, I do have a Sonic hub too, I didn't mention that. It's mounted inside the console. Actually, Phoenix finally put it inside there, so it keeps water from getting in it. I've got a super stick push pole here. Keep that in there. I keep my fire extinguisher, all my safety gear, like flares and whatnot, down in there. I've got a block of wood. This serves two purposes. One, to change my prop out. Okay, I always have a block of wood for that. It's the only thing that's pretty legitimately gonna last a long time. It's not gonna break. And then I've also got, in this Bass Mafia bag here, I've got a big breaker bar with the prop wrench on it. I keep it in this bag because it's just rusting out all the time. And you gotta have, I swap my props pretty much on a weekly or monthly basis. I'm taking them off. So you need to have a really good prop wrench, and I noticed all the plastic ones started falling apart after just a couple uses. So I've got two Tackle Warehouse Planos here, or these waterproof ones. What I keep in this one, spare like parts that I can swap out on my trolling motor and on the boat, on the water, like really quick. So I've got an active target and a live scope mount deal here for the transducer, because I have broke them on the lake before during tournaments, and a lot of times this live scope's a big deal. So if you were to break it first thing in the morning, it could ruin your day. So I have a spare in here of them. I've got some spare bolts for the graphs. I've got spare batteries here for my scale, and then I've got some spare motor bolts here in case I was to snap a motor bolt on the engine. I could possibly install a new one, like on the water. I've got the tools for it. If I got to the bank, and use the trim and press the lower unit against the bottom of the lake, you can lift the engine up a little bit and get a new bolt in there and tighten it in. That could be the difference between, in a tournament, some big money or not. So I've got some spare cables for the trolling motor for my Ghost. I've got spare navigation lights in case one of those was to go out in the morning. They don't usually let you launch unless you have nav lights, so I've got a couple spares. I can swap them out. I've got gimbal knobs in there, and I've got the little runners here for where the lower unit of the trolling motor rests on a lowrance Ghost. Those things tend to pop sometimes or break, and then you can't get your trolling motor to lock in correctly and stuff. So I've got those in there, and then I've got a couple of the Mercury, the screws, the famous trim bolt. I've got a couple of those in case somebody needs one. I've got like 3. I haven't had mine come out since I put Loctite in it, but I've got those in there. And then what do we got? A breaker, a spare trolling motor breaker in case I need that, and a humminbird knob. So spare hot foot spring, because those things will break every once in a while. And just some more lowrance Ghost parts, just parts that I've broke over the years and wanted to make sure that I had spares of with me on the water, because if you're making a long run and you break something, sometimes it's just better to spend 10 minutes and actually fix it. These are in like a nice waterproof case. The other one, this is my tools. So in here I have exactly what I need to fix anything on the boat that really could be fixed, you know, stuff that's could break and it's not going to be like something that I need to go back to the service yard in a tournament for. But you know, I've got some big screwdrivers here, flathead, and Phillips, and I've got some basically every size wrench that you would need, from I think a 3/8 up to I got a 5/8 there, and up to a 3/4 for the motor bolt. So I basically just went through the whole boat. Mainly trolling motor stuff is in here. You know, I've got the Allen wrenches, the star bits, for all the screws over there on the console, screws on the bow, anything like that. I basically went through the whole boat and said, could I fix this, and what tool do I need to fix it? And I put this kit together. I've got some cutters and some wire strippers here, some wire connections where I can butt splice stuff. I've got spare fuses in here and a few spare bolts. Bolts for like my lithium batteries. If I was just have to unhook a battery on the water and drop one, I've got some spares in there. I've got some spare batteries for my power pole remotes. And once again, I just keep this all in the side over here. And if I need it, it's right there. Put that block of wood back. My seat here, I just got this out because I've got to bring it with me in case I have a co-angler that wants it. These little compartments here, I don't really use them much. This one I keep all my drop shot weights in, all my lead drop shot weights. It's just a convenient place when you're retying. I throw a drop shot a lot, so that's pretty handy to just throw them all in there. This one, you know, I've got like I think I've got a chartreuse marker and then a wacky rig tool and then some flipping baits there. But the cooler, it's a nice cooler Phoenix has here. I'm not in the south, so I don't really know how great it holds ice. I mean, it holds it for a day, and I just throw a bunch of water bottles in there, Gatorades and stuff, and good to go. The rod locker here, I keep the antlers in, but in the front I actually made kind of like a big mega tube. So what I did is I took the rod tubes out, and then I broke all the rod tube things out of the starboard material, and then I took a Dremel and I actually cut the entire around the edge of the starboard, because when you take out this, all your rods like to fall into the corner here. So I keep it flat, just kind of drill it out, and it keeps the rods pretty even, because I just noticed over the years of having no rod, no rod tubes in there. Whenever I'd get back to the ramp, it seemed like every 20 of my rods, all 20 of the tips would be buried down in that corner, and I actually broke a couple rods because of that. So that's how I have my my deal there. And then I've got rod gloves on all the rods. I think the most bait casters I've fit in this was 32 with no spinning rods. So 32 bait casters you can put in this locker, stack them all in. Right now I think I've got 10, maybe 10 spinning rods and probably 10 bait casters in here. All my compartments, I do have lighting, aftermarket lighting I put in. So I've got some blue water, I don't know if you can see them, but I've got some LED strips up there. The same with my compartments here. They're all up underneath, so at night they light up good. And I've actually got them wired into the courtesy lights. So I've got it wired into that circuit, so whenever I turn my lights on here, it actually turns on my rigids on the deck, and then you can there they are. So I've got a light on each side here. I've got 2 lights up in the up in here, and then I've also got 2 on the starboard side as well. So this side rod locker, I keep like a safe face. I've got the bag here, but it's wet right now, so I kept it out of the bag. I got my structure scan box in here, my active target box. I've got the dude wipes, of course. I've got a jump pack. I got some goldfish. This is my AquaView. So I just have one of the small AquaViews. I keep it in this Pelican case. Keeps it nice and safe. I got a spare life jacket. Keep my raincoat, a throwable, some bumpers up in there. Nothing too crazy in that. This front locker, I keep some of my lighter tackle. You know, I got my Bass Mafia bags with some swim baits, frogs, spare treble hooks, swim baits. I got my spinnerbait box up here. This is kind of heavy, but it fits. Doesn't fit well like in this main one. I don't really throw a spinnerbait as much, so. My main locker, this is the one I work out of the most. Got my life jacket in here. I've actually got one of the Coast Guard things in the pocket that, you know, is a GPS deal, so that if I was to go overboard and I couldn't get back to the boat, I can turn that on and it should send a Coast Guard a signal to come rescue me, hopefully. This middle locker, I opted to go with this sliding tackle storage system that Phoenix offers. Well worth it. I really like this thing. It's not sliding too good right now because I got a ton of soft baits right now inside of these Bass Mafia bags, but I keep my spare line, my leader line right here, so whenever I'm retying all my spin rods, I'm good. I've got these little groove boxes. I keep my drop shot hooks in there. I keep all of my flipping weights in those little Plano boxes, all my super glue. This is kind of like my day box here. You know, I've got all my baits that I'm going to throw hopefully in that tournament or whatever I'm doing here. And then I keep all my hooks and jig heads below that also in these groove boxes. So this thing works out really well. I really enjoy this option that I've got here, and it just kind of, for all these like miscellaneous stuff that you need like access to non-stop, it's nice to have like right here. I just go 30, or I don't know what size these are, 3600 deeps and some 37s down in here. Nothing real special, just some of the baits that I access quite a bit. Depending on the time of the year, I swap out boxes and stuff. And like in the spring, I don't even bring a topwater box with me or whatever. I'll probably have my jerkbait box right here, more accessible. But I keep Bass Mafia boxes on the side, or bags on the sides. And then, oh yeah, we gotta talk about this little line deal. So the line spooler station, the Phoenix option here. This thing, it actually fits in here it slides in and connects. So when I'm re-rigging all my rods before tournament, whatever, this is hard to get lined up right now, but it fits in there and I can line spool. This also slides out, so if I feel like having extra of my day box, I'll take all this line out, and I've got a bigger, a little bit larger of a day box, so this thing's pretty legit. Once again, that's an option by Phoenix. Throw that in there. Okay, I do have a padded cooler lid also. Definitely worth it. I'm gonna turn off these lights. The front deck. So I run HDS 16 live. This is my primary graph up here. I run a Solix 12 for mapping and 360, and then I run a Garmin, and I've got live scope and mapping on this. The live scope I run down, LVS 34, and then the active target I usually shoot forward, and I can reverse that if I feel like it. I run a Lowrance Ghost. It's a 47-inch shaft. The best trolling motor I've ever had. I love this thing. I've got a TH Marine troll tamer here mounted to the actual frame of the trolling motor, and this is through bolted, so I had to get up under the deck, crawl up in there, and put washers and bolts on the back side of this. It's the only way to do it. This thing keeps your trolling motor locked in. In the past, I have done the rod deal here, and I feel like it puts too much torque on all the hardware and all the joints right here, because when the motor will actually still shift and torque on the mount, and I feel like you have to mount this troll tamer actually to the mount in order to get the longevity out of it that you need. I've got a Boat Logix 360 bracket with the stabilizer. I run the stabilizer up a little bit higher rather than right down here, because it actually doesn't allow this thing to flex, and I have snapped the 360 right off the pole here. So I slid it up a little bit, and it gives this a little bit extra play, so hopefully it doesn't put as much pressure on it and break it. Nothing special with the cables. You really got to have everything organized here when you've got so much stuff running down the shaft, and I can kind of somewhat deploy this here. So you got to kick with your foot. You can see how much clearance I have here between my humminbird and the cables. Not much whatsoever. Very precise mount here, or mounting job I should say, but all works out pretty good. I run the stomp switches, one on each side. I've got all BBT mounts on this boat. Anything less than BBT, it's gonna break. Running Ontario and Champlain Oneida. I got a padded deck up here. I got the Bob's machine deck plugs here, and I actually run a red one cable because the Lowrance one is just, it flexes too much and it rips out, and this thing I needed something like real solid. So anyway, real legit. This is the bug juice. I've just got a spray bottle here, and then that Aerospace 303. Use that on my seats and stuff. So this I just got this year. I used to have to climb to get off the boat. I'd actually have to step up and onto this mount and then kind of twist and climb over the bow, which was like actually really dangerous. So I got this Boat EFX step this year. So now instead of having to climb over everything, I legitimately just put my arm here and step off and get off the boat to load and unload, which makes it much easier. With my electronics, I don't have anything mounted to the shroud of the Phoenix. These things rip off all the time, especially with running 3 graphs. If you're running just 1 unit, you might be okay. But what I do is I've got my Garmin through bolted here to the deck. I've got a little bridge mount by Bass Boat Tech. for my 16. And then I've also got this other little custom deal I had made by BBT. So they took kind of like an over the pedal mount and they shrunk it down for me to like a 6-inch mount. And I have that through bolted on like through the deck here in the glass. And then I have this little shelf with the gimbal mounted to the shelf. So it looks kind of odd. It's up and over, but from the top, it looks perfect. And that's all I really care about, is I want something that, you know, it looks pretty legit from right here. I don't need, like, I want something that I can run back in 4-foot waves for weigh-in and not have to worry about my graphs coming off and having 3 graphs that weigh a combined probably 30 or 40 pounds bouncing around in the front of my boat, destroying everything. I haven't had to tighten anything up here a single time since I got this thing installed. What I do have to do though, when I need to access under here, is I unbolt these 4. This thing comes off and allows me to get in and undo all these screws to the shroud. And then I can get up on here to work on any wiring or do any upgrades that I'm gonna do. So it is kind of, it's not even a pain. I gotta just undo those 4 bolts and I'm in here. Sometimes I have to take this 16-inch lowrance off the gimbal or whatever, but other than that, it's pretty quick. Yeah, I've got a hydrowave on here as well, mounted right here on the bottom of the trolling motor. I've got a Ninja grass blade for grass. This thing works awesome. And then I actually electrical taped around because the hose clamp tends to really slide off a lowrance when it's on the back. So I use electrical tape there to give it something to grip onto. Let the hose clamp bite into that. And the hydrowave and stuff won't slide off anymore. Of course, you got your strap for rough water. I run the Fish Obsessed forward-facing sonar mount, and I ran stock lowrance and Garmin mounts, and those things would break sometimes. So I got this in the spring of last year, and it's been solid. They don't move. When you hit something, they actually do kind of, if I can get it to, there you go. They do kind of flex. So if you were to hit something hard enough, it would pop loose, but pretty solid. Lowrance Ghost, can't say enough about this trolling motor. Brushless, ton of power, super quiet. I used to run an Ultrex, and I would probably never go back to an Ultrex after having this Ghost. I think that's about gonna do it. That's how I got my rig set up. Hopefully maybe you learned something, or you got some sort of deal that you could do on your rig to make fishing just a little bit better. See you later.